Hey folks, welcome back to Dig Drive DIY. If you clicked on this video, but you haven't seen my previous video about when I bought this scraper and the rundown and the history of earth movers and scrapers, then you may want to check that out first so that you kind of know where we're at with this thing. But if you've already been to that one and you're interested in seeing this one work now, this is the video for you. I'm going to fire it up and try to take it to a job site and see if I can get something done.
Dig Drive DIY.
Alright, the first thing I'm going to do before I run it over there, because I know it was howling in 5th and 6th gear, that's from the previous video by the way, I'm just going to fill this up to make sure the transmission is full of oil. I'm going to head off down the road and find out what needs to be found out as I get into it. Well, there's oil in there. It's hard to see, it's hard to focus. But it is low. Okay, transmission is full. Need to check the hydraulic oil. It's in here. There's a little sight glass right there on that tube. And I don't know if you can tell, but I see oil in the bottom glass. So we're going to call that good because I don't have any more oil here. So it's got to be good. Alright, I'm just going to fire it up and drive it over to Greg's now. I don't know how many of these gauges I'm supposed to believe. If that engine temperature gauge is right, then this sucker's getting hot. So hopefully that's not the case. Well, we made it. I don't really believe the engine water temperature. I went over and opened the side panel and it's not excessively hot. I mean, I can just feel the heat coming off the radiator fan, but nonetheless, I want to watch it and be mindful of it. Yeah, I shut it off and that gauge is not responding at all. The other ones all jump and move a little bit. Even the fuel gauge, which I think doesn't work. I'm putting some fuel in it right now though. Interesting to see how empty it was. I have no idea knowing. Oh! It had a lot of fuel in it. It only took 20 gallons, so it's got a 110 gallon tank, so that was good. A little bonus on that situation. It's full. Alright. Alright, well, it is a new day here, and we're ready to try this thing out, but first I needed to check the antifreeze. Ended up taking 2 gallons of water and antifreeze to bring it back up to the normal level in the sight gauge. And then I just wanted to start greasing it, even though I'm not sure if the thing's going to overheat or not. But I figured, what the heck, I'll be optimistic. We'll grease it up and then we'll fire it up. I brought an infrared heat sensor, infrared heat gun, that's what I'm trying to say. And we're going to monitor the temperature as we try to run it up there. I'm hoping the gauge is wrong and it wasn't really overheating, but we'll find out. When I started doing excavating work in 1995, we really didn't have cordless grease guns yet. And so every morning we greased everything with a hand grip pistol grease gun. And that was a workout for your hands. Alright, this gives me a little bit of peace of mind because the gauges are bouncing all over. When I took off, that was still in the black, and then I tried to turn the lights on, and it makes the gauges go all wonky. I really don't think it was overheating because I could tell it wasn't physically that hot when I opened the door. So we're just going to run it up there to the field where we're going to work, and when I get up there I'll kind of show you what I want to do, what Greg wants to do, I mean. Alright, I'm going to stop and do a little check. See, it shows that it's almost to the red, like it's getting hot, but I can tell that it isn't. I already looked. Like just standing here, you can tell there's no heat coming off of there. This is still, I still put my hand on it. is like 154. Get that upper radiator hose, it's like 120. All right, that makes me feel a lot better. I literally lost sleep last night, worried that this thing was going to overheat the first time I tried to use it. Now it was 3 gallons low on coolant. Honestly, that's not enough to make it overheat without being worked. So I was concerned that there was, a water pump issue or blockage somewhere, but I think it's just a gauge issue. And after seeing what it does with the light switch, how it moves so much, it confirms that. But now the risk is I really don't have a temperature gauge that's accurate or that works, so I'm just going to have to really be in tune with, the smell and the amount of heat coming off of there. But if it really got hot, it would boil over the radiator, it would start to steam and overheat, so I'll keep an eye on it. Okay, we have arrived up here at this farm, and one important distinction I want to make right away is the difference between a farm and a field. A field can be contained within a farm. A farm can be made up of multiple fields. So generally when a piece of land is owned by one owner, then we call that the farm. For example, the Cove farm might be a collection of different fields within that farm. That's the case here. There's actually kind of 3 different fields here. It's divided by a road, and there's some woods through there, and there's a couple house lots in the middle of them, but this is a farm of about 100 acres, and the 3 fields and all the different corners and edges make up the farm. There's problems here because the land is more rolly. The topography is much different than it is at home just 10 minutes away because we are flat. This here has some hills, and as a result, the water has to move between the hills, and it's caused some erosion places. We call them washouts or gullies, and if you've ever heard someone say that rain was a real gully washer, this is exactly what it does. It creates these big erosion lines in the field. Some of them are not that bad, not that deep. You can cross it with the combine, and others up here are terribly deep, like you would lose a vehicle in them. So one of them, as a matter of fact, is so bad, it's eroded out 2 or 3 feet, and you can see the drainage tile that was in the bottom of it at one point. It's all exposed, and it needs a couple feet of dirt in the bottom of it. Unfortunately, you can't fix the tile. All you can do is shape up the bottom and then try to repair the tile after the fact. But other places aren't too bad, and I think we can use the scraper to rob dirt from some places and put it in the bottom. In other cases, I might be able to just drive right down the middle of the washout or the gully and force dirt into itself and then regrade it and repack it and hopefully make it to where they can farm right through some of this, because you can see even in the bean fodder where Greg had to farm around some of these washouts. Greg just started farming this farm this year, and he's doing what he can to fix it up and make it more productive and just a better farm overall. The previous owner kind of let some of these things go, and as a result, you've got these places where you can't farm and you have to drive around. So a good steward of the land keeps up on things as they start to become a problem, and this one was neglected. So that's what we're here to do, is try to improve this farm and make it more productive. So I'm going to fire up and go back to the first one that I know is pretty bad, and then we'll just see if the scraper will do what it's supposed to do. It's getting dirt in it. It's almost full already. All right, so now I'm going to turn around and dump that in the bottom of the waterway. All right, well, so far so good. It seems to be working decent. I don't want to jinx myself, but there's a few drips and leaks and whatnot, but as far as functionality, so far it all works. Still got that growly noise. I hear it in 4th gear, 5 and 6, but I'm just letting it growl for now. It goes really easy fixing up these washouts. Just make a few passes on either side of the lowest spot, and then just kind of make a pass through the middle, fill it back in and pack it, drag it. It does a great job. What I'm fighting right now is all the bean fodder. It tends to collect all the fodder, the organic material, trash, we call it, field trash that's on top. So we might have to come up with a way to deal with that. I've got something at home that might work for that. Maybe we'll go get it. But This one here is a little bit deeper, so I wanted to show this one before I get into it. But I'm going to come in here and I'll cut on both sides, fill in the middle, and see what we can come up with here. Alright, well here it is after the fact. The big gully or washout was about right here, I'd say. So Greg's going to show up with a landall, a tillage tool, and he will work this down with that, kind of blend it in. Then we're going to try to seed it with a cover crop like wheat or cereal rye, and that'll be the finish on it. Hopefully we get a little growth and vegetation that'll hold it in and hopefully keep it from eroding until we put beans in it again next year. So I'm going to move on and do a couple more. There's some really big ones I want to show you when I get to them, but we'll be back with that in just a second. Okay, well I have just spent the last couple hours trying to find all the different washouts and gullies that have been made in this field over the last several years. Greg marked them with blue flags, and then I went around and tried to fix the bottoms, taper the edges in, and then kind of drag and wheel pack the centers. It's working pretty good. There's actually, I think I did 6 or 7 of them at least. Those are all going to be easier to farm through now, and so that's what I think he wants. But there's still quite a bit of work to be done. So actually, there's a big washout. It happens to be right here. It's considerably deep. Matter of fact, it's washed out through part of it because there was a tile in the bottom. So if we want to put this scraper to the test and really see a drastic improvement to this field, it would be to patch up this big washout. What I need to do is mark where the tile is because it looks like it's good here upstream, and then it's washed out for about 100 feet or so, and then I think it takes off through the undisturbed soil again. But I'll need to mark where the tile is, then we'll start moving dirt on either side of this gully because a lot of this dirt has been carried away or it's down there at the end. The dirt basically gets moved down to the bottom, so I can dig some there and start transferring it all up here. I'm essentially going to bury and cover up wherever this tile is, and then we'll have to come back later and reestablish the tile through here most likely. This situation right here, not only is it just a pain to work around, but it's a safety issue too, so it needs to be fixed up, and I think a scraper is the perfect tool for the job. So on a side note, it's funny how the operation of that thing kind of came back to me. It is literally like riding a bike. Feels really natural and like I was meant to do it or something weird. I don't know. I can really tell that my neck is going to be sore from turning around and watching the cutting edge. I'm dusty and dirty. Other than that, it's the right time of the year to be doing it. It is October, so. All right, I'm going to pack it up and head for home, and we'll be back here to resume in the morning. Hopefully you'll be here too. Okay, well, it has been a really busy morning. Got here first thing, checked the oil, fired it up, did a little greasing, and then without starting any cameras or doing anything for this video, I went across the road to the western field, and I worked on a few washouts over there and a big gully that had formed over there with grass and weeds, and I just spent the morning doing that without any cameras going. And it was a pretty good morning. But now, it's time to tackle this big beast. I'm standing here right in front of this great big washout, and Greg was actually just here. He's spraying this field, but he's wondering how I'm going to fill this in. So I told him I'm just going to load up dirt. I'm going to skim dirt off the sides and then try to dump it right here in the middle. And it is pretty deep, so I'm going to straddle it and we'll just see how it goes. Hopefully I don't roll the scraper over. Hopefully I don't get stuck. And hopefully I don't cut a tire on that tile. Well, I must say that turned out pretty good. Not bad at all. Was able to get that filled in and smoothed up quite a bit. They'll be able to drive through that to farm it. Or if we decide to put a waterway in, we got a great start for that. So, you know, there's one more really big one back in the corner. I didn't think I'd be able to get to it. And I wondered how this one would go first before I saved the worst for last. So let's go check it out, see what we can do, and then maybe we'll get through our first job without a breakdown. Let's see, we're not done yet. Okay, well, working on this gully right here, I was really reminded of the old days. You had to do a lot of driving in and backing out and articulating the scraper in weird situations and then hoping that you can back out of it. I didn't capture a lot of it, but enough that you can probably see this can be very fun or it can be very frustrating when you end up getting yourself stuck. And there was a few times where I was a little nervous because the differential lock didn't appear to be working and I was spinning out. But fortunately, I got out of all these situations. This would have been a nice one too, to have a bulldozer down here working with me, because I could have dumped the piles next to the gully and then they could have pushed them in with a dozer, or I could have jumped off and done it with a skid loader probably. But we managed to be patient and stick with it, and we worked our way through it, because like I say on a lot of these things, patience is the key to getting it done. If you try to get in a hurry or you're worried about what time you got to quit, then the work is going to suffer. And this in here, it's 5:30 p.m. I wanted to be home a half hour ago, but in order to get this done the way I wanted it done, that's what I had to do. It takes time, and you got to work it from different angles, and so that you don't get stuck or you don't roll the scraper, you don't do something silly. That's what you got to do. It's a lot of repetition too. A lot of laps and a lot of the same thing over and over again until it's right. It's the same practice I do with the circles while grading a driveway. Why do you do the circles? Because it creates the best outcome. It takes more time and it's a little bit different approach, but nobody complains when it's all done. So I'm hoping Greg doesn't complain about this one. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm really tickled with how the scraper worked on its first job. As far as I'm concerned, mission complete.